Minister, I'm happy to join here with colleagues today to support this motion regarding autism, and I know, Minister, that you're very proactive in this area, but we know as a disability it affects boys are 3 times more likely to suffer it than girls, and in Ireland today there's over 14,000 students that have an autism diagnosis. That's 1 in 65 nationally, so it is quite prevalent. It is also a lifelong condition, as has been highlighted, and without significant support and coping mechanisms and self-education, many sufferers can find their condition inhabits their career trajectory, their relationships and their general mental and physical well-being. And it is at the extreme end a disability for sure, Minister, and this number of people have spoken here already about the difficulty in accessing a diagnosis of autism. And I think this is where you're going with your autism innovation strategy. That has to be the first place that you have to go, Minister. There's extreme hardship out there in families who have been in the system for some time. They see their kids regressing, and the schools are equally frustrated, I can tell you, and teachers who have very little opportunity. As you know, under the system they get 1 or 2 evaluations a year, and that's nothing like enough, particularly in early school and primary school. And I think we need to also consider the incredible financial costs that families are having to bear, as well as the impact to other siblings in the family. So we must do something to try and accelerate the diagnosis of autism, and then see how we can provide services to that. And just in terms of the disability network teams that you were announcing, Minister, I'd highlight to you this has caused quite a deal of trouble to a lot of families. And in Waterford in particular, we have a service in Johnstown, Waterford, and many of those families were written out to in recent months and told that they should start accessing speech and language services and occupational health services in Dungarvan, almost 30 miles away. And yeah, I understand that, but I'm highlighting, Minister, it has been changed. I think you gave them a year and a half, but the understanding is that they will have to migrate to Dungarvan. I'd ask you to have a look at that. Well, I thank you then for clarifying that, Minister, because I didn't hear that clarity before, and certainly people are still saying to me that that has not been clarified to them. And also I'd ask you to look again at and with the Minister for Education, to look again at the number of SEN positions and SNAs. It's a significant problem across the board, and again, we have schools in Waterford area who are suffering because they are not getting additional SNA numbers, and they have autistic children that they can't really look after properly. Can I just read into the record, if I may, just some of the stats from the As I Am study, and I think that they say an awful lot about where we are, Minister, and what your strategy needs to address. 42% of parents and guardians having to wait over 2 years to receive an autism diagnosis for their child. 79% said they were not in receipt of any support from the early intervention or school-age going teams. 70% broadly dissatisfied with HSC supports. 76% said that their autistic children were not receiving any support from the child and adult mental health services. 40% of respondents, autistic children have regressed during COVID, which we know, and 80% of respondents who confirmed they were in receipt of either carers allowance claimed it was insufficient. And 61% of those on a domiciliary care allowance echoed similar feelings about the capacity to cover costs. So costs are a huge issue, Minister. So I think, look, we're all in agreement that we know autistic people need to be accepted as citizens in their own right, and they need to be treated and have the opportunity to be treated equally. And we in the regional group believe that legislation should clearly articulate the understanding that autistic people should have the same rights as enjoyed by all other citizens. And we believe a bill can significantly improve the position of that, but I accept, Minister, that you have asked for time this morning in terms of progressing your own autism innovation strategy. But I think we as a state must no longer delay now in accelerating autism and implementing innovations around this to provide the required supports. So many campaigners have long highlighted what is required. So many people in the medical space and in mental health space have highlighted what is required, Minister. And I hope that under this new strategy that you're proposing, that we will finally see the resources being brought to bear where they are most needed.